All right, so for your final project, you guys have a couple of different options. First of all, you could pick any medium that we've done all semester, any technique, and in some way add to it, do something new with it for your final project. There's no theme, so really it's up to you what you want the topic or the subject matter to be. So you could do a monotype, either a multiple, layered monotype or a color monotype, or you could do a collagraph. Or instead of woodcut, which was our third medium, you could use this, which is linoleum, and I have some pieces for y'all to carve. It is much easier to use. It's a lot easier to carve than the MDF, plus you got a smaller image here, so you could really do a lot of detail and shading, kind of like the Elizabeth Catlett image that I showed you, the sharecropper. You could do a lot of detail with kind of the texture and the shading with it if you wanted to. One helpful technique though, and here's the linoleum cutters, we'll leave these out by the paper cutter. I'll have this and this out for you on Tuesday. And unfortunately, we won't be able to do etching because I don't have the proper tools. All of the materials needed for it, I thought I did and I don't, so my apologies. And I think it would be too labor intensive to do in a short amount of time. So I think it'll work out for the best. But a first note about your image on the linoleum, one thing that you can do, let's say this is our drawing. Instead of having to redraw it on here, what you can do is transfer it. So if this is the pencil drawing, lay the pencil drawing directly on top of your linoleum and run it through the press. And this will transfer the pencil onto the piece of linoleum, so you'll be able to see exactly where you need to carve. Now on this, you can see it's got kind of like a fabric texture on the back. So you kind of want to go in about 1/8 of an inch, no more than 1/4 of an inch, because this thing is 1/4 of an inch thick. So you don't need to go super deep, but you need it to be deep enough that's going to leave a little bit of a line between the raised area and the recessed area. And then what you'll do is you'll print these. So that's an option. You could do linoleum instead of relief. You could do another collagraph. You could explore monotype. Or if you wanted to, you could do dry point, which is kind of like etching, and some of you might have done that in Intro to Visual Art. Remember that? You did like a CD and scratched a little line into it. That's a possibility as well. You could also do that on a thin piece of plastic like Mylar, and if you want to do that, just holler at me, let me know, and I can get you a piece of plastic, and we can use the etching needles instead of having to use a screw, like if you did that in 3D. One thing that I want to show you is when you're carving, follow me, shall we? One thing when you're carving, you'll want to use a stop block. That's what this is. And we can put this out on the desk where we're working. And if we're carving, one end, this is called a stop block. Some people call it a bench hook. It hooks into our bench here. So if we're going to use this, what's nice about this, if you're carving out the details, and remember using this, here's our knife. Here is a V gouge here. If we're carving on our block, since this is a smaller piece of linoleum than those big, huge wood blocks that you're doing, the temptation is to hold it as you're carving, right? We're kind of pressing down here. That's where you have those mistakes where you kind of carve into yourself. So instead, you can push it against this. And you can always be carving out this way. And if it slips, which sometimes it'll do, it's okay because it'll slip into the wood as opposed to slipping into you or slipping into your hand. And if you got something over here, no worries. Just turn it and always be carving into the block. You can turn it and be working into the block. We also have one of these that has a little angle cut out of it this way, so you could always have it at an angle. So you have it this way, or you could have it slightly at an angle. So those are your options, 3 options for the final project. You could do monotype, collagraph, linoleum, which we'll leave out by the cutting board over there, the paper cutter. Or actually, if you wanted to, you could also do a dry point. on plastic or CD if you want to go that route. I'm going to have you watch this video, and I'm going to have you reply to me and let me know what process, what material you want to do, and also kind of the subject matter that you plan to do. So that way we know. Tuesday is a work session and Thursday is a work session, and if you want, you can take advantage of both of those dates. It doesn't have to be your day. In other words, forget about Group A, Group B. I would really take advantage of those work session times, Tuesday and Thursday, so that way you're ready to go and all prepared for our final exam, which I'll put on the instructions for this video and the questions that you have to answer. If anything comes up, let me know. Explore, kind of keep it realistic to what you're able to do in a week's time, and have fun with it. Let's make something that we, kind of think about it this way. What did we do this semester? And maybe what is something that you didn't have a chance to do or that you wanted to explore further? And we can kind of mess around with that. So signing off. Peace.